Okay, welcome everybody. This is our fifth session of our Play of the Hand class. In this session today, we are going to be talking about eliminating losers. That's both roughing or trumping in dummy and discarding losers on winners in dummy. This class today is really going to demonstrate the power of the trump suit. And so, of course, we're going to be focusing on suit contracts today, not no trump. In no trump, there is no power of the trump suit, but there is in our suit contracts. First of all, I want to take a look back at our making a plan, because as we've talked about that is the kind of the essence of this entire Play of the Hand class, is making a plan. And of course, it's the ABCs: assess the situation, browse the checklist, and consider the order you need to do things in. So assess the situation. We look to see what our goal is. What are we trying to do here? If our contract is 3 no trump, we have to make 9 tricks. If it's 4 hearts or 4 spades, we need to make 10 tricks. If it's 2 diamonds, we need to make 8 tricks. So that's the tricks that we need to make. That's our goal if we want to make our contract. Then we need to count and see how close are we to making our goal just with what's in our hand right now. So for no trump, we look at winners. How many winners do we have in our hand? How many sure winners, sure tricks can we count? For a suit contract, we look at the opposite side of the coin. We look at losers. How many losers are we going to have? And then that gives us the difference. If we need to make 9 tricks and we only see 8 tricks, we need to figure out how are we going to get that one extra trick to come in for us. That's when we browse our checklist. Now, our checklist just consists of 4 items: finesses, promotion, length, and then trumping and dummy. And trumping and dummy is the one we're going to talk about today. Finesses, we talked about last week. That's when you lead a high card. You lead a low card towards a card that you want to win, the high card. Hopefully, if the higher card is on the correct side, it will win. If it's on the incorrect side, it loses. 50-50 shot. Promotion and length, we talked about earlier in the class. Promotion is getting rid of the top cards that are going to beat your suit, and then that promotes the lower cards you have in the suit to be winners. Length is if you have a long suit, you can keep playing it until the last cards you have in the suit are winners. This works especially well in no trump. If you look for length, long suits, you'll find that many times your extra tricks come from those long suits. And then the last one, the one we're going to be focusing on today, is trumping in dummy, or discarding losers in dummies. Both of the things we're going to be talking about today. And it really is because of the strength of trump in dummy that we're able to use those in order to generate extra tricks. The last thing you need to do is then consider the order that you need to do things. Usually you draw trump first. Probably 90% of the time you're going to be drawing your trump first. But sometimes there's reasons not to, and we've talked about those. We're going to talk about them more today. Then we've already talked about playing the high card from the short side first. This keeps you from having transportation problems. Develop your extra tricks early. That means don't wait until the end to try to develop an extra trick. By that time, you won't have stoppers in suits available, and your opponents will be cashing tricks that you didn't expect them to take. And then be at the right place at the right time. This is making sure that you can lead from the right place when you need to. In later classes, next week in particular, we're going to be talking about transportation issues, which is what this topic is. Okay, so let's look first then at eliminating losers by trumping in dummy, or roughing in dummy. So these, we can do two things. We can rough on the dummy side, or we can discard losing tricks on the dummy side. But both of them need to be on the dummy side because we are counting the losers from the declarer's hand. If we have losers in the declarer's hand, we need to find something to do with them. And the two things we can find to do with them both exist in the trumps and the dummy side, and that is trumping in the dummy side and discarding losers on winners on the dummy side. And let's talk about why it's important to focus on the dummy side, why we don't care about having winners on the declarer side. Let's look first at this example, the one that's above the line here. We have dummy with the hearts with the 4-3-2 and clubs 4-3-2. Then the declarer has in hearts, which is the trump suit, the ace, king, queen, jack, 10, and the 5 of clubs. Now let's look at these two suits that we have. What is the total number of tricks that we should expect from these two suits? Well, they're mainly just on the declarer side, and that is that we should have 5 tricks in hearts and no tricks in clubs. So we should get 5 tricks out of this suit. Because when we draw trump, when we draw the ace, the king, the queen, the 4, the 3, the 2 over here are going to fall under the ace, the king, and the queen. We have a singleton club, so if they take one club and they try to take more clubs, we can stop them from doing that. So having a singleton and declarer side is not a bad thing to do. We can stop them from taking tricks, but notice that we do not have any more tricks than we started with. We still just have the 5 tricks we started with, the ace, king, queen, jack, 10. If we trump a club, we're going to be trumping it with the ace, king, queen, jack, or 10 that we already counted as good tricks. Okay? It's important that you can see that. Let's contrast that, though, when we have shortness in the dummy side, which is important. Let's look at everything now below this line. Here we're talking about the dummy, hearts, the 4-3-2, and now we have shortness in clubs, just the 5 of clubs, a singleton club. The declarer is the same with the ace, king, queen, jack, 10 of hearts, but the 4-3-2 of clubs. Now notice when we have shortness on the dummy side, now we can use these little tricks over here, these little hearts, to trump the shortness that's over here in the clubs. So as soon as we lose the first club, they'll get to take like the ace of clubs. Then before we draw trump, we can play the 2 of clubs and trump it over here with the 2 of hearts. We can then play the 3 of clubs and trump it with the 3 of hearts. Now we can play the 4 back over here to the ace, king, queen, jack, 10 and take 5 heart tricks plus the 2 that we were able to take earlier. So now we can get 7 tricks out of this holding rather than the 5 that we got out of the initial holding. And the difference is that we have shortness in the dummy rather than shortness on the declarer side. Again, shortness on the declarer side keeps them from winning tricks in that suit, but it doesn't give us extra tricks. It keeps them from getting tricks. It doesn't give us extra tricks we need. If we look at the top one, we only ever are going to have 5 tricks out of this hand. If we look at the bottom one, we can get 7 tricks between these 2 hands. So this is an important difference that you're able to see. Look at page 114 of your textbooks. Most of the time today, we're going to be spending on the textbooks. And this, for those of you that didn't attend class and are just looking at the this video that we have, the Zoom meeting, it's important that you read this text that this text in particular is very important for you going through and reading it and making sure that you understand everything in it. There are two examples here of hands, and the first one is over on page, before I go to that, let me point out that in order for you to be able to eliminate a loser by trumping and dummy, back up here, like what we were talking about with this hand, before you can do that, the important things are that you have more cards in the suit with the loser in the declarer hand than in the dummy hand. So you need to have more cards. If you have even cards, that's not going to work. If you have 3 little clubs over here and 3 little clubs in the declarer hand, you don't have anything to trump. So you need to have some shortness in the declarers, in the dummy side. You need to have enough trumps over here so that you can trump your in dummy. If you pull those, play the ace, king, queen, and pull the 4, 3, 2 in, then you have nothing left to trump with over there. You have pulled them in, so you have to do this before you pull the rest of the trump. You know, we said earlier, well, usually we pull the trump first, but when you need to trump in dummy, we don't pull the trump first. We trump in dummy first, or we only pull the number we can, leaving the number we need to have in dummy. And then you need to have enough high cards in other suits to get back. Remember here we said, well, we're going to take the 2 of clubs and lose it to the ace. Then we'll take the 3 of clubs and trump it in the dummy. Then you're going to need to have a high card somewhere to get back over to the declarer hand so that you can lead another little club and go trump it in dummy. So you need to have high cards outside of these suits so that you can go back and forth. All of these conditions need to be true in order for you to be able to make use of trumping in dummy. So let's look now at the example hand that is on page 116. 116. Here we have, this is the dummy hand up here. And then this is the declarer hand down here. So let's look between these two hands. In spades, how many losers do we have? And this is going to be a four heart contract. So in spades, we have no losers. We have the ace, king, queen as winners. So we have no losers. In hearts, look at how many hearts we've got. We've got 10 hearts. And we've got the ace, king, queen of hearts. We are missing the jack. But notice that because we have 10 tricks, we have 10 cards in that suit. There are 3 out. One of them is the jack. But even if they're all in the same hand, the ace, king, queen will take care of the jack. So even if it's a bad split, a 3-0 split, we still will lose no heart tricks. So we have no losers in hearts. Then we look at diamonds. In diamonds, we have no winners. We have only small tricks. So that means from the point of view of declarer side, we have 3 losers in diamonds. We do not have any winners. We've got 3 losers. In clubs, we have 1 winner, the ace, which means we have 1 loser, the 10. So we've got 3 losers in diamonds, and we've got 1 loser in clubs, a total of 4 losers. Our contract is 4 hearts, so we can only afford 3 losers. So the question is, what are we going to do as we make our plan? Well, we cannot do anything about the losers in diamonds. We are going to have to lose 3 diamonds. We can't do a thing about that. We've got 3 cards in the declarer hand. We've got 4 cards in the dummy hand. So there is no way to avoid losing those 3 cards in the declarer hand. We've got to lose 3 diamonds. That means the only thing that we can hope to do is get rid of the 10 of clubs as a loser. And the way to do that is to play first the ace of clubs with the 6, and then play the 10 of clubs and go over here and trump it. That way the 10 of clubs will not lose. It's being won by a trump in dummy. Now notice that you have plenty of trump over here in dummy. So you can go ahead and pull your trumps here, the ace, king, queen, and actually we only need to do it twice, the ace and the king, because the jack is going to fall on the first one. See, you've got 1, 2 split. So when we play our ace of hearts, the jack is going to fall. Then we'll play our king of hearts or another heart, and the last heart will come in. Then we'll play our ace of clubs, and then we'll play the 10 of clubs and trumpet. So in this case, we don't have to wait to draw our trump. We can go ahead and draw it first because we'll still have trump left over in order to trump the 10 of clubs. There's another example over on page 117. On page 117, it's a little bit different. This is a for spade contract. So let's look at our spades. Here we have 10 spades between us. The ace, king, queen, jack, 10. There's only 3 out, so we will have no trouble pulling our spades in, so we have no spade losers. In hearts, we've got the ace, king, so we have no heart losers. In diamonds, we have 3 losers in diamonds, the 10, the 7, and the 3. And in clubs, we have 1 club loser, the 5 of clubs. So we have 3 diamond losers, 1 club loser. We need to figure out, what are we going to do? Well, look at our clubs. We can't do anything about our club loser because we have no shortness. We've got 3 clubs in the declarer hand, and we've got 3 clubs in the dummy hand. So we have no shortness in dummy to throw anything on. So clubs, we're going to have to lose one of those clubs. But the situation is a little bit different in diamonds. In diamonds, once we lose 2 diamonds, we can trump the 3rd diamond because we have shortness in the dummy suit in diamonds. So, but we do have a problem, don't we? We have to lose the ace and the king, at least. We have to lose 2 diamonds before we can trump our diamonds. So we're going to have to give up 2 diamonds, which means we're going to need to lead a diamond and lose it. Then they'll lead something back, we win it. We lead another diamond and lose it. They'll lead something back, we'll lose that, or win it if they lead a club back. Then we'll play our last diamond and trumpet over in the dummy hand. So that means no longer are we losing that 3rd diamond, we have trumped it. So now it's a winner through the use of our very powerful trump suit. So now we're going to win 5 spades plus 1 more up here is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with our clubs. Those are our winners. And as you know, in our suit contracts, we look at losers. We have 2 losers in diamonds, 1 loser in clubs. That's all we're going to lose. We're going to win everything else. Okay, so let's go into our course book then on page 118. Page 118 is talking about, do we draw trump first or do we not draw trump first? And as you noticed on those 2 examples we've just looked at, we had plenty of trump there. We had 10 trump between us in each of those. That means there's only 3 outstanding. Because there's only 3 outstanding, we can draw our trump and we will still have trump left in the dummy hand to be able to use to trump. But sometimes you cannot do that. And so in that case, you don't draw your trump first. you go ahead and wait if you're going to need to use trump and dummy to rough with. Look at the example in the middle of page 119. There's a hand set out there. This is a 4 spade hand. And if you look here, in spades, we have 9 between us. And so we are losing no heart spade tricks. This is a 4 spade contract. We're losing no spade tricks. Look at our hearts. We have to lose 3 hearts. In our diamonds, we have to lose 1 diamond. We have the ace king. And in clubs, we don't have any losers. So we're going to lose no clubs, 1 diamond, and 3 hearts. That is too many. So we have to figure out what to do. Well, we don't have any high hearts and any high hearts. We're going to have to lose 3 hearts. We can't do anything about that. But in clubs, we are not short in the dummy suit. We are short in the declarer suit. And since we are counting those 5 spades in the declarer suit already as winners, it doesn't do us any good to trump with one of those. So we can't really do anything about our clubs, and we don't have any losers in clubs. But where we have our loser is in diamonds. So what we're going to want to do is take the ace and king of diamonds and then trump the little diamond in spades in the dummy hand. Now, if we draw our trump first, will we still have a trump left in dummy to trump the 2 of diamonds? And the answer is yes, we will, because we have the ace, king, queen, jack of spades. Now, if they are split 4-0, then we can't draw the trump first because we have to have 1 over there. So right now, if you'll look at that page 119, you'll see that spades are split 2-2. So you're just going to have to draw trump twice, and you'll still have 2 trump left over in dummy. That's more than you need, so that's fine. But if those were not split evenly, if those were split 4-0, you would have to draw 3 of them, leave 1 of them over there, play your ace and your king of diamonds, and then trump the diamond, trump that final diamond in dummy before you try to draw your last spade, and hope that they aren't able to trump in on diamonds first. Now, in this case, they would be, because look at how that distribution goes. There is a singleton diamond. East has 7 diamonds, West has 1. But you can see, without even being able to remember all the probabilities and statistics numbers I gave you, you can see that the chances of that being a 7-1 split are extremely small. They're probably something on the order of 1 or 2%. So that is very unlikely that you're going to get that split. And a 4-0 split in spades, which is what would hurt you. The next page gives us an example, though, of the 4-0 split. And you'll notice that as soon as you draw the first trump, it's the same hand. You have the same hands, but the east-west hands are a little bit different. You will notice when you draw your first round of trump, east shows out. So now you know you have a 4-0 split. And if you use all 4 of the trump in dummy to draw trump in, you cannot trump that losing diamond that you have. So you have to not draw the last trump. You have to wait and then play the ace and king of diamonds and then trump that diamond, then draw the last heart spade in. In the meantime, they're going to take their 3 heart tricks. You can't do anything about that. Another simple example is over on page 121. 121, you have a 4-heart contract, and you have, in spades, you have 1 loser. In hearts, you have no losers. In diamonds, you have two losers. And in clubs, you have two losers. But look, you have shortness in clubs in dummy. That's what we always look for. Do we have shortness in dummy? Well, we do. So that's good. We can trump two clubs in dummy. But the thing is, are we going to be able to draw our trump first? We only have three trump in dummy. We need two of them. We need two of them to trump those two clubs. So we could not draw our trump first. Our first thing we're going to need to do after they win, after they leave their spades, we're going to win with the ace of spades, is that we need to play the ace of clubs and then play a little club and trumpet, come back to the declarer side, probably by leading a small spades to the king of spades, and then lead another club and trumpet. Then you can lead your trump and get your trump in so they can't trump anything else of yours unexpectedly. That's why we always want to draw our trump first if we can. Don't mess around with just playing some other things that you think might be good. Otherwise, you're going to come up against that situation like we came up on page 119, where we've got a 7-1 split. You don't have to have too many of those to occur to learn your lesson about not waiting to draw trump. Don't mess around. Draw your trump first unless there is a reason not to. And the reason not to would be that you need to trump something in dummy. Now, I will warn you that if the declarers, if the defenders can see that that's what you need to do, that you're going to be trying to trump a couple of things in dummy, and they can see that because there is a singleton club in dummy. And so they're figuring you're probably going to be trying to trump some clubs. They're going to lead trump. So they're going to get rid of your trump that you have in dummy. And by the way, because the defenders think that way, although you're taking a play of the hand class right now, you need to learn to think as a defender. And one of the good things you can do as a defender is if you think they're going to try to be trumping in dummy, you can lead trump yourself and take that possibility away from them. You're going to be losing those trump anyway. Take their ability to use trump and dummy away from them by leading trump. This is often a very good defensive posture if you think they're going to be trumping in dummy. And that's when you can see shortness on the dummy side. Okay, let's look over on page 123. Page 123, the official title is Avoiding an Overruff. And another title for this should be Don't Send a Boy to Do a Man's Job. In other words, if you can, trump high, don't trump low. And that's if you have plenty of high trump. And look at the example on page 123. On page 123, you have the ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8 of hearts. You have all the high hearts. So you might as well, when you trump, and you are going to need to trump a diamond. When you trump the diamond, you might as well trump with a high heart and not a low trump. The way this hand is laid out, if you play the ace and king of diamonds and then play a low diamond to trumpet, notice that the east is going to be out at that same time. And if you just play the 2 of hearts to trump that diamond trick, they will overruff it with the 7 or the 5 or even the 4 and beat your 2. And so you won't be able to get rid of that diamond loser. You'll have another loser on your hands instead in your trump suit. So when you can, trump high. If you have a choice about where to trump and you have high ones available that you aren't going to need for something else, go ahead and trump high. Don't send a boy to do a man's job. The same thing is over on page 124. We're talking about using the high cards wisely. And this has to do with your transportation as you need to get back and forth. In this particular hand, they are leading the queen of clubs. you were going to have to ruff 2 hearts. You'll notice that you are short in hearts in the trump and the dummy side. So you were going to want to trump 2 hearts. To do that, you were going to need to be able to come back to the declarer hand so you can lead a card back to the trump that are on the dummy side. Well, to do that, you should save the high cards that are on the trump side, on the declarer side. When they lead the queen of clubs as the opening lead, and that's what they would lead, is the queen of clubs, you have a choice of taking that on the dummy side or on the declarer side. And you should be thinking to yourself, well, you know, I'm going to need probably to have some winners on the declarer side. So I better win this first trick with the king of clubs and save my ace of clubs. That should be part of the plan that you're making as you've made your plan that you're going to need to trump 2 losers in dummy. That's your plan. But then your consider the order part of the plan is, what order should I do things in? Well, one of the things you should do is save the high cards on the declarer side, play them on the dummy side first, so that you'll have an ace of clubs to get back to and lead another trump, another heart for you to trump. The last thing that's talked about where we're talking about roughing and dummy is the cross ruff. This doesn't come up a lot, particularly one that you can do from the very beginning as you can in this example. A lot of times the last 2 or 3 tricks we can cross trump. Cross trump means trumping in your hand, leading back, and trumping in dummy. Trumping in your hand, leading back, trumping in dummy. So you just go back and forth, trump one side, trump the other side, trump one side, trump the other side. That works out a lot of times at the end of a hand. The last 3 or 4 tricks sometimes work out that way. This is one, though, that you can work out from the beginning. In this particular case, let's look at this. This is a 4-heart contract, and I'm over on page 125 now. Page 125, we've got a 4-heart contract. We've got 2 losers in spades. We've got no losers in hearts. We've got no losers in diamonds, but we've got 4 losers in clubs. Well, how can we get rid of those 4 losers in clubs? Well, we're going to have to trump, aren't we? But if we trump, we're going to use up all the trump that are in the dummy side. We won't be able to pull trump. So what we're going to do is we're going to lead a small club and trump it. Then we're going to play the ace of diamonds, and then we're going to lead a little diamond back and trump it. Then we're going to lead another club and trumpet. Then we're going to lead a little diamond trumpet. We're going to go back and forth until we've taken 8 tricks, 4 in each side. 4 and 4 is 8. 8 tricks by trumping back and forth. Then we'll cash, we've already cashed the ace of clubs and the ace of diamonds. That's our 10 tricks that we need. So that's called a cross ruff, where you go back and forth. And as I say, very rarely does it work out from the beginning the way it does in this hand. And when it will work out that way is, look, you have shortness on both sides. That has to be the case for these cross trumps to work. You've got shortness in diamonds in the declarer hand. You've got shortness in clubs on the dummy hand. You happen to have the ace in both suits, so they're not even going to win anything in those suits. And then you can cross ruff back and forth. It's always fun to do when it works out. All right. So that's everything called that we want to talk about trumping in dummy. The key thing to remember is that it's always in dummy that you want to be able to develop these extra tricks. The second thing that we want to be talking about in this chapter is eliminating losers by discarding them, not trumping, but finding winners in the dummy hand that you can throw losers on. Let's look at the example in the middle of page 127. The middle of page 127, we've got a 4-heart contract. If we look it up, we've got no losers in spades. We've got two losers in hearts. We're missing the ace and king of hearts. We've got two losers in diamonds, and we've got no losers in clubs. So two in hearts, two in diamonds, that's too many. But look what we've also got. We've got an extra winner on the dummy side in clubs. We've got the ace of clubs is a winner, but then the king of clubs is also a winner. So we can lose one diamond, and then that third diamond we can throw on the winning club that's in the dummy hand. These always have to be in the dummy hand. Just as for it to work, you need to be able to trump in dummy. You need to be able to throw losers in dummy on winners in dummy when you find those. On page 128, it's talking about what order do you do things in. This is considering the order that we talked about. That is the last part of our ABCs, considering the order. And it is talking about the idea of, do you have quick losers or slow losers? A quick loser is a loser that you have to lose as soon as you give up the lead. If you give up the lead, they've got 2 or 3 or however many tricks they have to take. So in that case, you don't want to give up the lead until you've developed whatever winners you need to develop or gotten rid of whatever losers you need to develop. So for this, you're usually going to need to draw your trump first instead of waiting. If you can draw your trump without giving up the lead, that's usually what you want to do. But if you have to give up the lead in order to make something good later, then sometimes you don't want to draw your trump first. Now, this is different than if you're missing the ace and king of your trump, you might as well go ahead and knock them out because they're not going to go away. I see this happen many times. People hesitate to go ahead and draw a trump when they're missing the top trump. But the thing is, you need to draw trump anyway, and you're going to lose the ace and king in any case. You can't do anything about that. And by delaying drawing your trump, not only many times do you lose to the ace and king, but you lose to a smaller one as well because they get in with even a smaller one and are able to trump. So there's no point in delaying that because you're thinking, oh my gosh, well, I've got to lose the ace and king. I don't want to draw trump in. You're going to have to lose them anyway, so you might as well go ahead and do it. Okay, this is the material that was covered in our chapter 4, which is about eliminating losers both through roughing and discarding. And as I mentioned earlier, this chapter, more than any other chapter, is really good for reading the material and seeing the examples in here. In class, we played several hands, which I think really help you to kind of bring this home about how to make your plan and how to look at being able to trump in dummy and discard losers in dummy. So the 4 example hands that are at the end of the chapter are something that you also ought to look at. And try looking at these without looking at the answers. As we've discussed before, there's a different part of your brain that you're using when you were trying to figure this out yourself, rather than when you are reading what they're telling you about the hand. And you're nodding to yourself and you're thinking, oh, yes, I see that. But you wouldn't be able to see it if you were trying to do it first. So try to do these hands first without looking at the explanation. See if you can come up with the answer. Make some notes here about how you would do this, what you think the correct plan to make is. Then look at the answers and see how close you came. It's going to be way more useful to you to do it that way than if you just read over and say, oh yeah, I see how to do this now, when you wouldn't have been able to see it on your own. And that's practice you need to have about how to see this on your own. All right, that's it for today, guys. Next week, we're going to start talking about transportation, watching your transportation as you go back and forth between the suits. All right, unless anybody has questions, I will see you all next Saturday.
Thank you, Sally.
All right, you
Thank
bet.
you.
See you guys then.